Hello there. Today I'm going to teach you the Markdown syntax and help you set up a robust note-taking system. So, what is Markdown? Markdown is a very lightweight markup language that has become a de facto standard for developers worldwide. Using Markdown, you can take notes, create technical documentation, write blog posts, and do a lot more. So, how do you create a Markdown file? The cool thing about Markdown is you don't need any specialized software to create a Markdown file. Any text file with a .md extension makes it a Markdown file. So let me go ahead and open my Visual Studio Code editor for the demo. To create a new file named syntax.md. This way the editor knows this is a Markdown document. Today we'll cover the syntax for headings, paragraph, text formatting, just bold, italics, monospace, and the syntax for quotes, lists, ordered, unordered, and nested, images, links, tables, and finally the most important, code blocks. So this is what we'll be covering today. So let's start with the headings. So just like HTML or any other word processing software, headings are from H1 till H6. So to create a H1 level, before I start with the syntax, let me enable the built-in Markdown preview in VS Code by clicking on this preview icon. So let me minimize the File Explorer. So on the left side, you see my Markdown document, and on the right, you see the rendered output. So I'm going to create a new heading 1. So the syntax is a hash followed with a space, heading 1. So then 2 hashes means heading 2, 3 hashes means heading 3, and so on. It is always advisable to have line breaks between headings, like one line break above and one line break below, so that the rendered output is as expected. And for paragraphs, it is very simple. You have to generate some random lines of code. So let me go to libsyn.com and generate some random paragraphs. I'll copy the first 2, or I'll just use the first paragraph and break it down into multiple paragraphs. So a single chunk, renders this as a single paragraph. The more line breaks I introduce, it automatically breaks down into multiple paragraphs. You see that if I introduce a single line break, it still renders as one complete paragraph, one continuous paragraph. The key is, for every paragraph, just like heading, you have to have a line break on top and a line break at the bottom. So that way, each paragraph is rendered independently, as you see here. Okay. So then the next topic is text formatting. So bold, italics, and monospace. Let me copy this paragraph, or let me do this. My name is Magesh. I am founder of Cognitive Technologies. So I want to make this word bold. So I select it and surround it with double asterisks. It becomes bold. And if I want to make this word italicized, I select it and surround it with single underscore. It becomes italics, and I can do a combination of both. So select the word, underscore for italics, and double asterisk for bold. So now you see it is rendered as bold italics. And the next one is quotes. So to specifically quote a line and then add some comments on top, just like this. For example, I want to quote this particular line. So I start the line with a greater than symbol with a space. My name is Mukesh. So you see it's quoted, and then I actually ask my question, can you provide the full name? You see, so this is a single line quote. What if you want to have multi-line quotes? For example, let's say there is a heading, um, heading 3, and add some demo text here, paragraph. So you see this entire chunk is being rendered as is quoted and rendered as a single block. So all you have to do is you put this greater than a symbol and followed by a space for the heading and the paragraph. The next one is the list. So first we will look at the ordered lists. So the syntax is the number dot followed by a space and put item 1, item 2, item 3, and the cool thing is you don't have to number them with 1, 2 or 3 and so on. Okay, so you just number them sequentially 1, 1, 1, and it'll actually start working. It'll automatically number. So then you have unordered lists. The syntax is hyphen, or you can even use star followed by a space. I personally use hyphen. Bullet 1, bullet 2, bullet 3. Okay, and so you can also have nested lists, like you can have an unordered list inside of an ordered list, or vice versa. So for in this case I use item 1, item 2, item 3. So here I want to introduce another level of lists. So what I do is I introduce 4 spaces, as you can see here, 4 spaces, indentation, and item 1, 1, item 1, 2, and here again to introduce another. If I use 2 spaces, it might not show up correctly, as you see here. Bullet 1, bullet 2. You see they are in the same level as that of the parent. To actually indent, you have to introduce 4 spaces, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this becomes nested inside the parent level item. Okay, and images. For images, the syntax is exclamation, square braces, then followed by a parenthesis. So let's go ahead. What shall we search for? Let's search for Python triangle. File. Let me copy this file here and put it inside the parenthesis. So you see the image being rendered here. So what is the use of the square braces is, if you're familiar with HTML, you might have known the attribute alt text. So alt text is something that appears or that's rendered when the image the image is broken. Let's say you made a mistake in this URL and the preview cannot load this uh, image. So what happens is, instead of in addition to showing this broken image icon, it also displays the text that you have provided here. If I put, say, hello world, it'll display hello world. Usually what we do is we give a bit of information about the image that we have displayed. So in this case I'll use Python Django logo. So this is what the syntax is: an exclamation mark followed by the alt text within square braces and the image source within parentheses. So links are similar, pretty much almost the same as image, except that you don't start it with an exclamation. You put the text that you want to display within square braces, followed by the actual URL in parentheses. It renders like this. Again, Apple. So this makes it a clickable link. Up next, we'll look into the tables. So creating a table is the syntax is like this. You have to start with a header row. Let's assume we have 3 columns in our table. So column 1 followed by a pipe, then column 2 followed by a pipe, then column 3. So we have to mark the first row as a header row. So how we do that is 3 hyphens, space, pipe, 3 hyphens, space, pipe, and 3 hyphens. So you can see the output here. So the first row is rendered as a header row. Then the next row I can put as cell row 1 column 1 pipe, cell row 1 column 2 pipe, cell row 1 column 3. So you see they appear neatly, and similarly I can have multiple rows. Call this R2 and this row 3. Okay, so this is the syntax. You have to mention the first row as your header row, followed by this 3 hyphens, followed by the number of columns that you want to have. Then you start typing each cell. So each cell is separated by this space, pipe, space. Another thing is, if you want to align the text in a slightly different way, let's instead of saying hello again, hello once more. Okay, so assume I want to align all the contents of column 2 in a central aligned. So what I can do is I can put colon before and after the dash, and it will automatically align them center. If I want to align them to the right, what I can do is, for example, if I want to align the contents of column 3 to the right, I find this row and put a colon at the last. So you see this becomes right aligned. So technically, if you don't provide any colons, it means that it's like this. So you don't have to explicitly say that the column is left aligned, because the default direction is left. So that's how you align text content within tables. So the last part is code blocks. Before we get into the code blocks, I think I missed the monospace part here. So monospace is where you want to use monospace fonts instead of regular system fonts. For example, let's say my system's password is hello world. You see the difference. To make a block of word appear monospace or use coding fonts, you surround it with single backticks. Let me show that again. You select the word, you surround it with single backticks. The backticks is the key that you find to the left of your number 1. It's just below your escape key on your keyboard. So you surround the word with single backticks, it becomes monospace formatted. So this is helpful when you're sharing some sensitive data where you don't want to confuse the user between if the letter is I, or if it is 5, or if it is 1, and so on. So in such cases, formatting them as monospace really helps. Now let's get back to the code block part. So usually when you try to take notes, you try to include code from code snippets. What you do is let's say you want to create a new you're making a JavaScript function says that it's called say hello, and it takes fname and fname as arguments. Then console.log fname fname. So you type like this, but in some cases it renders in most document processors it comes out like this. To preserve this as a code block or a code snippet, what you could in Markdown, what we usually do is we create a code block. A code block is triple backticks on 2 different lines: opening backticks and closing backticks. So 3 different, 3 backticks back to back, and you paste this content inside. It becomes a code block. Okay, you see the font has changed to monospace automatically, so that it appears as a code snippet. The cool thing about Markdown is the moment you give a hint about what kind of code this is, it automatically gives you syntax highlighting. For example, in this case, this is a JavaScript function, so I can just give a type hint saying this is JS, so it automatically gives me syntax highlighting. So the same goes for let's say I'm going to type a Python function. Let's say hello fname lname. Sorry. Print fname. So all I have to do is I've placed my code inside a code block with triple backticks. In the opening section of the code block, I hint that this is Python code. So it takes up. It really gives me a syntax highlight, highlights the keywords and stuff like that. It also supports HTML. Say h1 hello world and class equal to my title. It really colorizes the tags in a specific color, attributes in a specific color, the attribute colors in a specific color, and the plain text as is. So this way it makes a lot easier and a lot more convenient to note down code snippets without losing the syntax highlighting functionality. So this is one of the key reasons I suggest all software engineering students to learn Markdown. And As you can see, line breaks and indentation are a crucial part of the Markdown syntax. Adding additional spaces when not required and leaving out empty lines when required can result in unexpected output. As a beginner, you might find this a bit confusing, so I recommend using the Markdown lint extension in Visual Studio Code. Now, open your VS Code and go to the Extensions Marketplace. In the search bar above, type Markdown lint without spaces. You should see this Markdown lint extension by David Anson. Click on it and install. I've just I've installed this already, but I had disabled this extension for this demo. So I'll enable it now. Extensions. So with this extension installed, whenever I make a mistake, the linter will notify me by underlining it. You can also see all the problems or all the issues highlighted by the linter. We're going to view problems. So here you see the first line heading, which means the first line in a file should be a top level heading. So here I don't have a top level heading, which is a H1. So to fix this, what I'll do is I'll put the title as Markdown syntax. Okay, and then it complains about multiple top level headings. Ideally, in one Markdown document, there should be only one H1 level heading. Everything else should be smaller. And you see, like the entire document's flow is beautiful. We've been able to clearly create, and sometimes, as you see, this the Visual Studio Code's built-in previewer is a bit, it's not so fluid. So one other way we could preview this Markdown is there is a extension called the Markdown Viewer. You can actually go to extensions and see this is the extension. It's called Markdown Viewer. It is available for almost all Chrome, Edge, and I think it's even available for Safari and Firefox. Please have a check. So I've installed this Markdown Viewer extension in my Edge browser, and I've also given access to file URLs. So once I have this enabled, and I've also allowed that in private, so what I can do is I can let me grab my file, the playground Markdown. I have this syntax.md file. So what I can do is drag this syntax.md file into my browser, and it automatically shows the preview. So this is the exact same MD file that we have been editing in VS Code, and you can see the preview in browser. It's beautifully rendered. It looks like a proper HTML file with proper styling for tables, code blocks, and so on. Okay. So where will you use Markdown? Markdown is mostly extensively useful for developers to create documentation. You see, any repository, any GitHub or GitLab repository that you see, the home page of the repository is basically your README file. So this README content comes from this readme.md file, which is a Markdown document or a Markdown file. So if you look at this, see, this is exactly the same content that you see in the repository's homepage. Here, right? So Markdown is used in primarily it is the starting point of any repository, and if you look at the GitHub issues, let's take one issue. Okay, so whatever you see here, you see it like whatever you see here is actually Markdown. The original poster writes the content in Markdown, posts it, and you see the rendered output here. And even the comments that other people add, they are Markdown as well. In addition, the wiki section in every project there is a wiki section, right? So this wiki section, it's primarily a bunch of Markdown files stitched together. So for example, you see in this project you have a lot of API documentation done within the wiki. So I click on a particular API called list categories API, and you can see the entire documentation this is primarily Markdown. So let me find something more, song marks or songs API, list songs. Yeah, see, so the endpoint is /API /songs, and there are optional query parameters. Each parameter has its own description, and we also give some sample requests, and there is a sample response. We also document the constraints that are placed here, and so on. See, to create such extensive documentation, it's easier if the developer or the writer has to do as minimal typing as possible. So in that cases, Markdown is it's actually a boon for developers. You simply start writing in plain text, add small markups along the way, and it formats beautifully for the end user to see. That is the power of Markdown. In addition to this documentation stuff, a lot of team chat softwares like Slack, Discord, and Telegram, they've started supporting Markdown content as well. Slack and Discord, they've had support for Markdown for quite a long time, and recently Telegram started supporting code blocks as well. So when you type a code block in Telegram and send it, it automatically adds syntax highlighting if you're specifying the snippet type. Okay, and third one, the last one, like if you're already signed up for Codevs, the chat window that you see, the chat window that you see here, type if you want to type something here in the chat box, this chat box completely supports Markdown. So you can share snippets, you can share headings, tables, whatever you want, you can share it here. It is completely Markdown formatted. So that way it is when you are interacting with your co-developer or your mentor, you can share a small snippet, ask questions, and they'll be able to reply back with with more snippets and so on. One more thing that I wanted to highlight is for every student that finishes the first module of Codevs, we give them a blogging space on blog.codevs.in. So this entire blog is powered by Markdown. So any post that you see here, for example this one, so the student, they write this blog post in Markdown, and automatically it gets converted into HTML. And similarly, another example here. So all this formatting here that you see, this is Markdown content. They write in Markdown, they hit publish, and you see the entire blog post is generated beautifully in HTML. If you want to learn full stack development with mentoring from a senior developer, I recommend you check Codevs.in. What sets Codevs apart from other edtech offerings is you get insights from an industry expert who reviews your code after every task. Moving on to the last section, let me show you how to set up a robust note-taking system with Markdown. So, our ideal note-taking app will need to have the following features. Obviously, it has to support Markdown. It should be free to use. This is one of the important aspects, no vendor lock-in, which means what if you create a lot of notes over a period of 6 months or 1 year, and then you figure out there is a better app that suits your note-taking needs, but you cannot migrate your old notes from your old system to your new system. So such things shouldn't happen. So all the notes that you create shouldn't be locked to a specific app or to a specific vendor. And finally, it has to support cloud sync, which means you create notes on one device and you log in into another device, all your notes should be available on the new device, and vice versa. So all these four features are essential to have a great note taking experience. I'll go through them once again. So it has to support Markdown. It should be free to use. It shouldn't enforce vendor lock-in, which means you can at any time you can leave the app, take your notes, and move on to a new app and get on with it. Then it should also support cloud sync. So fortunately, we have one candidate that fulfills all these expectations, and I've been using them myself personally for about a year now. It's good. Go to notable.app website and download the desktop app for your OS. After you install the app, you see here like I have a bunch of notes in my app, and all these notes are actually saved in a folder called the data folder or the data directory. So I'm just going to go here and say click on open data directory. So you can see here that the notes are nothing but a bunch of .md files, which is the Markdown files. So what I usually suggest is you set up the data directory inside your Google Drive, OneDrive, or any other cloud storage app. So this way it actually helps you sync your notes between multiple devices. So that brings us to the end. If you learned something new, please like and share the video. Subscribe to our channel for more insightful content on software development. Thank you.